Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I want to show you how to play Oaxaca, Crafts of a Culture, a beautiful game about being a craftsperson in Oaxaca, Mexico, designed by Sarah and Will Reed. So while there is a multiplayer version of this game, this is Beyond Solitaire, we're talking solo. So you need to make sure at first that you have the solo player mat, which is the one that has a little picture of a grasshopper right here. So as you can see, this multiplayer one does not. What you can do with one of those, however, is flip it so you can keep track of your score as you go. The other solo specific aspect of this game is that some of the wood carving craft cards need to be replaced with solo specific cards. So you need to take all of the cards with bunnies, mice or rats, and bats out of the wood carving deck and replace them with these special solo only cards that have grasshoppers on them, just like the solo player mat has a grasshopper. Then you just shuffle it in with all the other wood cards and you're ready to commence normal setup. So now that our card decks are set up, basically you need to shuffle each of your craft decks, which will have different backs, and put them on the related area on the play mat. So let's just go ahead and put our wood carving cards here. We're also going to have several other interesting bits of art, such as textiles, pottery, put that here, tin art, and jewelry. So these are the 5 different groups of crafts that we can concentrate on working on throughout the game. And as you're gonna see, each kind of craft we build is going to help us build our engine to make more crafts in a slightly different way. We also have a deck of tourist cards that I'm going to show you how to use in a moment. So for now, we'll just shuffle them and put them here. And in my area, we have my playmat, and we're also going to set up just a couple of other things to get us started. First, I'm going to need a meeple. I'm going to go for this blue one. So they're really neat little themed meeples in this game. Getting the stickers on was tough, but once I did, they look so good. So I have a meeple. So I'll just put my meeple right here. And I also get a starting banner card. And so this card is really useful because, as you're gonna see, it's gonna give me a wild die to work with each round. So you start with just one card that has a power that can assist you as you go. I'm also gonna take one of our crafting cubes, which will mostly serve other purposes in the game. I'm gonna put it over here to track our score. So I'll just stick it over here at nothing for now because I have no score. So now we're about ready to start playing. One of the first things we're gonna do to really get the game going is put out our tourist cards. So in each round, we're gonna have these tourist cards that give us a little bit of a bonus once per round. So if I want to, I can place my meeple on one of the actions and use it as part of my engine building. So let's see what tourist cards we get. A wild die. That's a tin die. Wood. This one says, during a gather action, I can draw an extra 2 cards. That's something that we may get to. During a craft action, 1 die counts twice. That could be good. And then just another jewelry, an extra die. So I'm gonna show you how these work, but basically these are little bonuses that let me pull extra cards or count these cards as extra die results 1 time during a given turn. So they're very helpful. Maybe we should turn them this way. I don't know which way is easier for y'all to read, but we'll just do that for the text. We also have a little round tracker that we can put to track the rounds. There are only 3 of them, so as you're gonna see, this game plays pretty quick. Now we're gonna roll 2 sets of dice. You normally only roll yours if you're playing a multiplayer game, but in the solo variant, we're gonna roll dice to represent what we're able to craft, and then another set of dice that represent what the tourists in this game actually want to buy from us. So I'm gonna go ahead and be blue. I'm gonna go ahead and roll my blue dice, and they're gonna go here in the daylight box for me to use. As I use them, I'm gonna move them over here to the night box. All right, so I have wood, clay, fabric, tin, and a wild. So basically I got a whole bunch of different stuff. That'll be interesting to see how that works. And then we'll roll the tourist dice to see what the tourists want and talk through what that's gonna mean. Okay, so we got tourists who wanna buy tin, jewelry, wood, more jewelry, pottery. Okay, so these tourist dice need to be over here sort of ever in our minds about what we're gonna do with what we're building this turn. So with my dice, I have some choices. With each type of craft die, there's a couple things that you can do. So if I had a project that was in my workshop already, I would be able to spend a die in order to take craft tokens off it and become closer to finishing my project, which is something you're gonna see very shortly. I can also use one of my dice to pick up a craft of the type specified by the die, and I can pick up 2 cards from the top of the deck and pick which one I like better. So then I can put one of those in my workshop to craft later, and I can put another on the bottom of the deck. So basically I can either gather materials from here to start some new projects, or I can use my dice to craft wares and work on projects that I've already put in my workshop. The other thing about this game though is that there's a limit of 3 projects that can be in your workshop at any time. So you need to be careful because you can't just go grabbing cards and hoping for the best. You have to kind of limit the stuff that you put in your workshop because you don't have endless space. If it turns out that I really hate my dice, one of my other options is that I can actually combine 2 dice to turn them into 1 die of the result of my choice. So if I really wanted jewelry and I didn't have any jewelry and I'd already played this wild, I could actually just take 2 of these, make them into 1 die and say, oh yeah, that's jewelry. So there's a lot of interesting little die manipulation powers in here. The other kind of die that we have is the star. This is a little bit worn, sorry, and it is wild. But the thing that's interesting about a wild is that it's helpful because it's wild, but it's also limited so that if I want to use it to say pick up some jewelry, I can only just pull the top jewelry card off the deck. I can't pick up 2 and choose one as I could with like a die with the correct value. Also, if I use it to craft, I can only pull a cube from 1 of my project cards. The way that this game works is if you are playing a die to craft your wares that matches multiple cards in your workshop, you can actually pull a cube off of each one of them, as you're gonna see. But this only allows you to pick up 1 card or remove 1 crafting cube. So wilds are great for their flexibility, but they don't have as much firepower as dice that are actually of the correct face value. So in addition to using my dice, I can use cards that are in my market stall. So right now there's only the 1 card, and because I'll be selling some of the handicrafts that I make to get points and make tourists happy, there may never be that many in a 1-person game, depending on the strategies that you like. But I can choose to exhaust this card or up to 2 of my cards in my market stall on any given turn, and then they'll refresh at the end of the round. Also, once per round, I can place my meeple on one of these cards to gain the benefit that's shown on it. So let's play through a round and then we'll explain the tourist dice once we get there. I feel like that's enough information all in one go. So I have these dice. I have wood, I can go for pottery, I can go for textiles, tin, and I have wild. So since there's interesting wood cards in here that I'd like to see if I can find, I'm gonna go ahead and take this wood die and I'm gonna put it in my night box, and I'm gonna use it to gather materials. So what that means is that I get to draw 2 of these wood cards and see what they are. Okay, so I have these 2 options. I can keep 1, and actually I can put the other one on either the top or the bottom of my deck, depending on whether I like them or not. So I can either get a giraffe. It's worth 3 points. It costs 3 tokens to build. Or I can get this one that allows me to basically move my crafting tokens around to make things get built faster. But I don't really want to get a high investment card right now. I'm gonna go ahead and take this one and we're gonna put it over here in my project area. And because it has a 3 on it, we're gonna take 3 of these crafting cubes and we're gonna go ahead and put them there. This card's gonna go to the bottom of the wood deck because I want to look for something else. So that was our first turn. We have as many turns basically as we have dice. So let's take one more turn. Since there's tin up here, it might be interesting to go for some tin because I will be able to craft it without giving up more dice. So let's move the tin over and we'll pick up 2 of these cards for gathering materials and see what we find. All right, so this one is basically the same deal as the wood. 3 tokens, 3 points, and once it's built, if it's in my market stall, it gives me an extra tin die result to work with. This one allows me to reclaim one of my used dice, but it's a little bit pricier because it's got 5 crafting tokens on it. Ooh. Very interesting. Okay, so since I went for the cheaper one on the other, why don't I go for the 5 on this and just kind of see what happens. So this one's gonna go over here and it's gonna get 5 tokens on it. This one I'm just gonna put on the bottom of the pile. It was all right. I think there's more like that in there. So now I have a bit of my work cut out for me. I've got 2 projects and I've got a bunch of crafting to do. So now let's actually work on getting some projects done by the end of this turn to see if we can actually do a little bit of scoring in the tourist round. All right, so now we're out of immediately obvious actions, but that is okay because I think what I want to do is I want to work on getting some stuff crafted. So I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play a wild die. I'm going to treat it as wood, and that is going to let me take a craft cube off. During this round, I'm also going to use my tourist action to go over here, and I'm going to take a cube off of this tin object. So basically, I use this die to craft wood. I use this tin die to craft tin. If I had had more than 1 tin card, using a tin die would have made me able to take a wooden piece off of every single tin craft that I had. So it can pay to have multiple cards of the same type in your workshop. But we're doing a little bit of diversifying so y'all can see different stuff. All right, so now I have 2 dice left. And the question is what do I want to do with them? I don't love either of these results, to be honest with you. So I think the way that I'm going to play it this time is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move these over and I'm going to count them as wood, and I'm also going to exhaust this and count it as wood. So that way I have a woodcraft done and I can move it over into my workshop to use for next round. So that was my game. That was my whole turn. All my dice are now in the night box. There is a special rule about this game. So if I had had 1 die left that wasn't useful to me, you can, instead of using it because it doesn't have any purpose for you, you can set it to any value you want and like leave it in the daylight box for the next day and just roll your other dice. So even if you get kind of stuck and there aren't things that you want to use, there are ways to turn that to your advantage in this game, and I think that's one of its charms. So now we're going into the tourist round. So we're just going to kind of reset everything. So what this means is I have a woodcraft. I do have a tourist who wants to buy something with wood, but I think I'm going to wait. So these are my tourist dice, and they are going to be used for scoring. And the way that you score in this game is you sell crafts that you have built. The problem is that once you sell them, you don't get to use their special powers anymore. So I've gained this extra wood die result, but I can't use it if I sell it now. So one thing that's very cool about these dice is that when you sell handicrafts to tourists, you get double the point amount on the card if you sell to a tourist who wants that item. So this guy who wants wood, I can sell this wooden handicraft to him for 6 points because it's 3 printed in the corner. This tin one is going to be worth 10 once I'm ready to sell it. So a lot of the game is balancing between giving up crafts that you've created and keeping them for their powers until you can make more stuff to sell. The other thing that's kind of neat about this game is it's quite flexible. According to the rules, any customer dice that you sold a handicraft card to do need to be rolled again at the beginning of the round, but you can also re-roll any customer dice that you did not sell in the previous round, or you can leave them as they are. So it says any. It doesn't say that you have to do all of them, or there's no limit to that. So I'm actually just gonna re-roll this one because I like doing jewelry. Let's see if we get anything cool. All right, so this time we got another tin. That's actually really good. We're gonna keep these tourist dice, and I'm actually not gonna sell my cute little creature just yet because I want to have a productive round next round with some more powers and building and stuff. So, you know what though? Actually, let me rethink that. I am gonna sell him. Let's get some points, show you how that works. So even though this would have been cool, I'm gonna go ahead and sell my cute little giraffe. I don't think it's a giraffe, but it looks like one. So I'm gonna go ahead and sell him, and we are going to use this tourist die. So these have been paired with each other. He's been sold, and now I have 6 points. But you don't even get on the score chart in this game unless you get 30, and so that means you've really got to wring some points out of these rounds. I am behind, so we'll just do it. So once you've sold to a customer, you have to re-roll that die as well. So, okay, clearly tin is in our future. So that's what we've got, jewelry and tin. So we'll see what happens to us in this next round. This goes into just a little pile for scoring. So now we are in round 2. Get my meeple back. Everything's reset. And we're gonna do this again. So we'll roll the dice and see what pops up. Okay, this is actually really great. Look at all that tin. All right, so, and some jewelry and some clay. Okay, and then we're just gonna put these tourist dice back over here for next time. So given that people wanna buy tin and jewelry, this is pretty good. Let's go ahead and play with these tin dice really quick, and we can pull some tin. Actually, I don't know if I'm gonna wanna use that wood or not. Let me think. No, I'm gonna show you something cool with that later. Okay, so I'm definitely playing this tin die, and let's pull 2 tin cards and see what we get. Okay, so I can get another one of these cool little skeleton dudes, or I can get a sweet tin skull and crossbow that lets me re-roll any number of my unused dice. Let's take the lower value one so we can do a little building and crafting here. So let's just put this one on the bottom. I'm looking for like novelty here. So that's 4 craft tokens. The good news, however, is that we're gonna be able to get a lot of work done this round, hopefully, on that front. The other thing I wanna do is I wanna see if I can pick up some jewelry using this jewelry card. And let's have a look at that. Ooh, okay. So I can either just get some straight jewelry dice action, or I can go for this 4. Let's be ambitious, because if I can, I'd really like to show you how this works. Okay, so we're gonna put this jewelry here as well. If I score it, I get +1 point per card in my workshop, and that point, the bonus will be activated when I sell the jewelry. So it would be pretty neat to be able to make that happen for you guys over the next round, because it's worth a lot of points and it's also cool. Okay, so now we have these 3 dice left, and I really want to work on this tin hard. So let's go ahead and put this one over here, and I'll also activate a wild. So I'm gonna take 1 tin off of each of these for the tin die, and then I'm gonna take an extra one off of reclaim one of your used dice to kind of keep working on that one a little harder. Okay, so now I have another tin, which can let me take another cube off of each of these. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spend this last die, but I can actually use my meeple to combine it with this die result to create a wild, which will let me finish crafting this card. So I've now gotten this like more valuable tin piece, which is pretty nice. So I'm gonna hang on to it for now. But basically you can combine, so if you combine 2 dice, you can make a wild, which is in the rules. You can't combine 2 cards to make a wild die, but you can combine a die with a card to create a wild, which is actually pretty great. So that's definitely something that is worth considering as you try to score in this game. So that was another day gone by. And now I have a choice. Do I want to sell this tin, or do I want to keep it for the reclaim one of your used dice powers? Woof. I mean, I'm really behind in the scoring. I want to see if maybe I can have like a fat 3rd round and like make it happen for myself. We'll see. I'm not the best at this game, full disclosure. My scores in this typically kind of suck. But that's okay. So we're gonna keep going. And yeah, so now we're almost here on this tin piece. I'd like to work on this jewelry. I'm thinking about future scoring possibilities. So when I sell this, it is worth 10 points, but I can use it to reclaim one of my used dice, and I have 3 tin dice over here. There's no reason to rush to sell it now other than make myself feel better with these points. So I think it may be wisest to keep this for now, try to build this too, and sell them both next time for 18 points. And if I could build something else, even another tin maybe, that'll be worth even more. So hopefully I can pull something off here. All right, so this isn't the best, but I think we can work with this. Okay. So here's what we are going to do. First, let's see if we can pull a little bit. Yeah, oh, and also this should reset. So I have everything fresh for this round. All right, how do I maximize this? I need to get this done, and I want to maybe get some more jewelry so I can see if I can get some bonuses. Let's work this out. This die is essentially useless, which really stinks. But let's do what we can. All right, so let's go ahead and use this wild. I'm gonna use it with this wild card. Yeah, so I'm gonna use these wilds to clear out this tin and make sure that it gets done. So I've got 2 tin items. I can reroll any number of unused dice, which is great because I could use that this turn. So next turn I may do that because you can use it right away once it's built. All right, next. Okay, here's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a risk. I'm gonna grab this wild. I'm just gonna take the top jewelry off the pile. Actually, that's nice because it's like a sweet little +3 bonus. Perfect. Okay, so there's 5 tokens on this. Can I get them off before the end of the round? And we're in round 3, by the way. Okay, so these are actually roughly the same result. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this along with this die to take 2 of these actions off of each, 2 of the crafting cubes off of each of these cards. So like we're on the way of getting them made. And then, let's use this card as well as part of this turn to see if we can roll something nice. Oh, sweet. We rolled jewelry. That's as good as it can be. Okay, so we'll take another turn. And that gets to take 1 off of each of these. We'll reclaim one of our used dice. Let's reclaim this. Now we can play this die to craft. This is done. These are used. And then we can play this die to craft, thus getting all of these done. So we managed to make all of this stuff, and now we're gonna offload all of it during this tourist round and see where that gets us point-wise. So let's have a look at what we can sell. This doesn't sell, that's just a banner. All right, sadly, if I had managed to craft this earlier, if I'd been a little smarter about it and sold it while my workshop was full of other crafts, I actually could have gotten another +1 per card in my workshop. So that's a bummer, but that's okay, because it's still worth 8 points to a happy jewelry buyer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, oh, carp. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go, 14. Okay, and then we have a tin buyer who will buy this tin from me. So that gets me up another 8. Awesome. All right, now we can sell this to another happy tin buyer and get 5 points. But it's actually 10 because we're selling to somebody who really wants it. So it's 10 points. So we go from 22 to 32. And then this was a really nice piece of jewelry to this happy jewelry buyer because it's worth 10 points +3 at the point of sale. So it's actually worth 13 points. So that took me to 42, 43, 44, 45. That accelerated quick. All right, so actually, this may be the best score I've ever gotten in this game. Well, the game's already over. It's just like a sneeze. It's over so quick. But we have 45 or more. These are the most authentic pieces that money can buy. If you come to Oaxaca, you have to come visit this artist. Let me tell you, usually my crafts are only average in quality, and it has happened that people have found my crafts to be uninspired and of poor quality and not worth the money. Ouch. So this is a fun little game because figuring out how to maximize your score is actually pretty challenging. I like going for jewelry because of the bonuses. The other thing I didn't get to show you was those special wood cards. It just didn't make sense to keep hunting for them. But what they do is they allow you to place a handicraft cube next to a deck of your choice, something you think you're gonna buy, and it adds points for every craft of that type that you sell. So if I knew I was gonna sell a bunch of jewelry, but I was able to develop a little bit of woodworking while I was doing it, I could keep putting little cubes over here using my action and pump up the value of my jewelry even more. So there's like neat little tricks in these different crafting decks that help you maximize the amount of points that you can get. It's a little bit challenging, especially because the game feels so short. It's only 3 rounds and you kind of panic a little bit because you think, oh God, how will I ever get any of this done? That's actually part of the fun, and it's a really neat little game. I highly recommend you give it a shot. Happy gaming.